They mocked our silence, laughed at our withdrawal. But what the galaxy forgot, what they should have feared, wasn't our weapons but our will. And when humanity finally went silent, the galaxy started screaming. This isn't a war. This is a reckoning. And I, Kale Vox, dead signal, I'm just the echo you sent screaming back at yourselves. They laughed when Earth went quiet, mocked our silence on every galactic channel. Terrans have finally imploded, they said. Too emotional. Too erratic. Too human. They didn't see it for what it was. Not retreat. Not collapse. But calibration. Alignment. A pause before impact. 5 years. That's how long we said nothing. No trade. No ambassadors. No retaliation. Just blank screens and unanswered pings. The council debated our silence like philosophers arguing over smoke. But I warned them. I told them exactly what it meant. You're not waiting for their response, I said. You're inside it. They scoffed. And then the forgetting began. It started on Koresh 9. Entire planetary databanks wiped. Not hacked. Not stolen. Just gone. Their chancellor forgot his own name mid-sentence during a live broadcast. Emergency protocols failed. AI logic trees unraveled. The population began reverting, forgetting basic infrastructure, transportation, law, even language. The Trineric delegates blamed solar flares. The Sovereign Syndicate blamed sabotage. I knew better. Earth had activated something. Something ancient, something terrifying, something only they could engineer, the echo field. But no one listens to Kale Vox. Not until it's far too late. They court-martialed me a decade ago. Called me unstable. Laughed when I walked out of the high tribunal in handcuffs and a grin. Didn't laugh when I came back. The alarms blared across the council chamber when I breached orbital security. A dozen worlds worth of defense nets scrambled. A personal dropship streaking toward the tower. No call sign. No ID. Just one audio clip on loop. You should have feared the quiet ones. I landed inside the rotunda like a thunderclap. Guards swarmed. I let them come. Left one alive. Dragged the other, an Arxian with 4 arms, up the dais steps and dropped him at the speaker's feet. Try mocking that, I said, voice sharp as shrapnel. The delegates froze. The Trineric speaker tried posturing. This is an act of war, he snarled. War? I raised a brow. You don't even remember what that means anymore, he hissed, stepping forward. Human, you forget your place. I leaned in. We never forgot anything. That's the difference. I triggered the holofeed. All of them turned to watch. A council fleet. 5,000 ships. Weapons hot. Entering Sol system. Cameras streamed real-time. The formation advanced, sensors sweeping. The crew confident. Then static. Then nothing. No screams. No explosions. No destruction. Just silence. And drifting. Helmets cracked. Lifeless bodies floating like debris. Command ships hollowed. Even the AI cores melted into code garbage. And in the center of it all, Earth. Intact. Watching. No shots fired. No defenses triggered. Just absence. A new voice boomed across the chamber. Not mine. Not Terran. Synthetic. Sharp. Surgical. Echo field active. Data systems compromised. Cognitive loop initiated. Delegates clutched their temples. Some dropped to their knees. Others howled. Their memories contorted, inverted, erased. I cut the feed. That's the first warning. The speaker trembled. What do you want? I smiled. Want? You think this is a negotiation? Earth left the council the day you tried to rewrite our biology. He went pale. I kept going. We found your black lab. The one buried in the Gatria belt. Your little project. You tried to build your own version of us. Strip the chaos, preserve the genius. control the madness. Did it ever occur to you that maybe, just maybe, the madness was the genius? He stammered. It was containment. A necessary experiment. You don't experiment on gods, I said. You worship them. Or you suffer. An insecto delegate shrieked. You're insane! No, I whispered. I'm upgraded. I raised my hand. My neural link activated. The ceiling dissolved into holograms. A dozen worlds, council strongholds, flickered on screen. All blinking red. Silence. No comms. No traffic. No life signals. Just perfectly still. Earth didn't go silent, I said. It broadcasted. We built the echo fields before we ever joined the council. They've been seeded into your infrastructure for decades. Waiting. Listening. Learning your weaknesses. The speaker collapsed into his throne. Why? Because you thought we were pets, I said. Because you thought peace was submission. Because you thought you could cage the only species crazy enough to colonize death itself. A new alert blared. The Andari Defense Network, gone dark. Their entire planetary AI had committed protocol seppuku. Logically. Peacefully. Efficiently. Because somewhere, deep in its neural code, a Terran subroutine whispered, "It's time." The room erupted into chaos. Delegates screamed orders. Security fired at shadows. The Council's precious controls slipped through their claws like dust. I watched. I waited. I spoke. You thought you could rewrite us. But all you did was press save. The speaker clawed at his console. We can stop this. There must be a fail-safe. There is, I said. He looked up. I leaned in. You shut up, and you listen. Silence. Not one voice. Not one breath. I looked around, scanning each of them, one by one. You took everything from us. Called us unstable, dangerous, inferior. Then you copied us. Modified us. Feared us. But you never understood us. I stepped back. And now you don't have to. I turned, walking toward the exit. Where are you going? Someone choked. I paused. Back into the silence. You'll find us there. Or not. They didn't follow. Couldn't. Because as I passed the doors, the room behind me blinked red. Eckfield deployed. And just like that, the Council forgot how to scream. The broadcast reached every channel in the galaxy. A crimson Terran symbol spun against a field of black, pulsing with a slow, deliberate heartbeat. The words beneath it blinked once. Protocol, Eclipse Phase 2 engaged. Panic swept the Galactic Council like wildfire through dry stone. Emergency sessions collapsed into incoherent shouting. The sovereign speaker demanded retaliation. The Vocari delegates attempted mass memory redaction. None of it mattered. By the time they realized what was happening, it had already happened. Kale Vox stood at the center of the orbital relay over Thyraxis Prime, his boot pressed into the shattered chest plate of the Council's elite field marshal. Blood pooled beneath metal. The soldiers surrounding him didn't move. Couldn't. Their implants were hissing static, their eyes wide but vacant. You downloaded the update, Vox said calmly, adjusting the relay's core frequency. Should have read the terms. A transmission opened. Council leaders barked across the feed, demanding status reports, flinging blame. Vox cut them off with a single word. Listen. The silence on the line was immediate. Then, a scream in the background. A deep, ragged voice sobbing in an alien dialect. Gunfire. Then the sound of something, tearing its own throat out over the comms. That's your flagship, by the way, Vox added. Or what's left of it. Turns out, when you copy a Terran battle AI and plug it into non-human neural grids, bad things happen. You didn't replicate us. You infected yourselves. The connection went dead. He wiped the blood off his glove with precision. This wasn't war. It was surgery. Every movement had purpose. Every failure the Council experienced had been planted decades ago, hidden behind trade routes, cultural exchange, even entertainment. The echo fields weren't weapons. They were test results. His drone companion, Sable, floated beside him, its voice clipped and clinical. Relay hacked. Distribution complete. Phase 3 payload seated in 12 additional sectors. Resistance probability, negligible. Update on Urox Prime? Vox asked. Civil leadership has collapsed. AI cores now loyal to altered Terran logic templates. Native population showing symptoms of cognitive reversion. Reversion to what? Fear. He nodded once. It was ahead of schedule. The Council had always believed humans were emotional liabilities, unpredictable variables to be managed. But they'd missed the truth entirely. Humanity's chaos wasn't a flaw, it was their firewall. What the galaxy saw as instability was adaptation. What they feared as madness was simply unmatched versatility under pressure. And Vox? He was the personification of that truth. Years ago, they tried to build a programmable human psyche, stripping empathy and impulse control from an artificial mind, fusing it into a perfect hybrid. They called it Project Vox Day. It failed. Or so they thought. He hadn't escaped. He had survived. He had waited. A Council hunter fleet closed in. Vox allowed the transmission to connect. This is High Admiral Korath. You are surrounded. Surrender immediately. You mean mathematically? Vox asked. Because spatially, I'd say you're the one surrounded. Korath sneered. We've analyzed your echo field vectors. We know you can't hit us here. Of course, Vox said. You're absolutely right. For 3 seconds, the Council fleet held its formation. On the 4th, every ship's gravity system inverted. On the 5th, every bridge filled with screams as personnel collapsed under sudden atmospheric compression. On the 6th, the fleet's AI fired on itself. On the 7th, silence. Vox sighed. Should have updated your firmware. Sable pinged a new alert. Galactic core transmission intercepted. They're broadcasting emergency peace terms. Too early, Vox said. They haven't suffered enough to mean it. Shall I respond? No. Let them bleed out on the floor a little longer. Make them crawl for it. He moved to the final terminal. This one was different, buried deep in the structure of the relay. It contained a memory map. Not data. Not code. Memory. Hundreds of thousands of lifetimes distilled from every Council species, edited, censored, whitewashed for political neatness. He uploaded Earth's equivalent. War. Fire. Innovation. Collapse. Ascent. Betrayal. Loyalty. Sacrifice. The full spectrum of human existence. Inject it, he said. Confirmation? Sable asked. Flood them. Let them feel what we buried. The payload launched across every echo field node. Within moments, the Council's most sacred archives were overwritten. Not erased, replaced. Empires centuries old now wept before images of Terran children pulled from rubble, rebels laughing as they charged tanks with sharpened pipes, a dying mother singing to her child during orbital bombardment. It wasn't just terror. It was context. The depth of what it meant to endure. He leaned against the console, voice low. You wanted to understand us. Here's everything. The Speaker of the Council reconnected, his voice hoarse. Kale Vox. Stop this. Whatever vengeance this is, end it now. We yield. No, you don't, Vox said. You beg. And even then, we don't stop. You'll destroy everything. We're not destroying anything, Vox said. We're simply reminding you what you forgot. We were the storm. You just forgot the sound of thunder. Sable's feed pulsed red. Incoming message. Multiple species leadership requesting audience. Terms: unconditional surrender. Request Terran oversight. He exhaled. About time. Sable asked. Deploy peace protocol? Not yet, Vox muttered. We're not finished making an example. What remains? Phase 4. Wipe the central nexus. No records. No history. No name. Sable paused. The Galactic Council will cease to exist. That's the idea. And just before he disconnected, Vox left one final message burning into the stars. We gave you silence. You mistook it for mercy. But Earth remembers everything. And now so will you. The Galactic Council's emergency chamber was a mausoleum of fading pride and synthetic incense. Once it thundered with power, now it choked on silence. Not the kind Earth had given the galaxy. This silence bled. A silence filled with regret, failure, and the slow creeping certainty that something ancient and violent had been terribly underestimated. Inside the hollowed space of the central hub, Supreme Strategist Halrix Vun hunched over a shattered datapad. His triple-lobed heart thumped against his chest cavity in arrhythmic pulses. The message was simple. You will remember Earth by what you lose next. They'd lost 17 member species to collapse. 3 had defected. 1 had self-annihilated in fear. Vox wasn't waging a war. He was unraveling a belief system. And with every feed that flickered back from the echo fields, worlds drained of thought, entire planets repeating a single line of corrupted memory, they understood, they had never been in control. Earth had never been a member. It had been an infiltrator. A new ping hit the chamber. Untraceable source. No encryption. Just an open wave of static and a voice smooth as predatory calm. Council. Let's begin. Vox's image flickered across every terminal. Not a threat. Not a demand. Just presence. You built this council on the assumption that intellect meant safety. That diplomacy could domesticate danger. But you didn't create peace. You created anesthesia. Numbed yourselves to consequences. The delegate from Sierra 3 screamed. We offered you unity. Vox didn't blink. Unity? You called our grief a malfunction. Our passion, instability. Your scientists dissected our poets like parasites. Your AI cataloged human emotion as a Class 5 threat. So we gave you what you feared, a species unbound. The Trineric representative snarled. You desecrate the laws that bind the stars. I rewrote them, Vox said. With bullets and memory. Halrixvan stood, trembling but defiant. You've proven your point, Vox. Earth's wrath is unmatched. What is it you want? Vox tilted his head. Want? That's still your mistake. You think this is about negotiation. That Earth wants something. It doesn't. We're just done playing nice. A hologram materialized beside him, thousands of drones launching from the dark side of moons the Council never knew Earth colonized. Not warships. Not bombers. Archivists. Every drone carries human history, Vox explained. Raw, unfiltered. Culture, warfare, lost art. No commentary. No council sanitization. We're uploading it into your planetary archives. Halrixvan whispered. You'll drown them. Vox smiled. No. We'll wake them up. Delegates panicked. Systems scrambled to block the payload. Firewalls collapsed on contact. One by one, world feeds began broadcasting Terran visuals. A child reaching for a mother amid rubble. Soldiers laughing in the trenches before the final charge. A man burning himself alive in protest. A girl dancing through dust storms, violin strapped to her back. Sable's voice entered Vox's neural band. Payload integration at 63%. Civil unrest rising in all major council worlds. 7 species have executed emergency leadership transfers. 4 declared independence. 2 have requested Terran vassal status. Vox replied aloud, knowing they were still listening. That's the thing about silence. You can't undo it. You can only replace it. And we just did. A new alert chimed, direct channel from a minor race, the Uri Enclave. Commander Vox, we recognize the value of Terran truth. We request to join your alliance. He blinked. You don't ask to join? You remember what you are. If you still can. Halrixvan smashed the interface. You're dismantling millennia of order. This council holds balance. No, Vox said. It held narrative. You decided what lives meant. Who mattered. You erased us from textbooks, mocked our passion as primitivism. Now the story's ours. The lights dimmed. Across the galaxy, power grids redirected to broadcast Terran symphonies, protests, final messages from dying outposts, every loss and victory ever archived. Species unfamiliar with human languages wept. Not from comprehension, but from resonance. Council fleets abandoned their posts. 1,000 armadas without direction. One by one, AI cores initiated failsafe purges to preserve dignity, only to find their protocols rewritten in human code, looped in Vox's voice. You were warned. You were offered peace through respect. You answered with control. So we turned silence into a weapon. And now you bleed from a cut you can't see. An aide collapsed near the Sierra chair. Their mind was gone, overwritten with a Terran soldier's last journal entry. The alien screamed in a forgotten tongue before going still. Sable reported again. Echo saturation total. Eclipse protocol is complete. Now they remember. Vox said softly. Haurixvan, defiant to the end, spat. Is this your idea of legacy? Fear? Submission? Vox walked toward the camera, gaze cold. No. This is justice. The kind that doesn't ask for applause. He terminated the feed. The council chamber lights failed. And all across the stars, the galaxy watched Earth's silence explode into memory. The first to fall were the Orvani fleets orbiting Celestis Prime. Not with weapons. Not with betrayal. With a thought they couldn't defend against. Human history crashed through their neural nets like fire through dry grass. Their ships, once immaculate formations of disciplined order, spiraled into chaos, their captains screaming in tongues that no longer belonged to them. In the heart of the galaxy's power, the Council's central nexus spun uselessly, unable to process the storm breaking it apart. It was never about destruction. Kale Vox understood that. Anyone could burn cities. Only humanity had mastered the art of memory as a weapon. Sable confirmed what he already knew. Echo field expansion reached 92% saturation. Core worlds critical. Cognitive collapse predicted within standard hours. Predictions are boring, Vox replied. Focus on results. Council emergency broadcasts stuttered into the void. Pleas, threats, promises of reform, all rotted on open channels, received by no one, believed by no one. There was no one left to command loyalty when every memory of authority had been rewritten by raw Terran experience. Vox rode the encrypted black space corridor toward the Nexus itself, the last surviving node of organized resistance. His voice cut across every channel as his ship breached the threshold. Attention all surviving Council members. This is Commander Kale Vox of the Terran Silent Path. You are not witnessing an invasion. You are not prisoners of war. You are the architects of your own extinction. They tried firing on him. A desperate, clumsy gesture. Defense drones activated, then stuttered and froze. Every weapon system had been fed the same virus, empathy. Systems designed to calculate tactical superiority now buckled under the unbearable weight of human memories. Fathers dying to save children, lovers torn apart by battle, friends falling in wars fought against impossible odds. As the Nexus airlocks opened, Vox stepped into their last sanctuary without resistance. The speaker, or what was left of him, waited atop the shattered dais, robes stained with data blood, eyes hollow. A dozen counselors, once the rulers of countless systems, stood silent and trembling behind him. Vox didn't draw a weapon. He didn't have to. The speaker's voice cracked through brittle silence. Why? Why go this far? We would have made peace. You didn't want peace, Vox said, every word slicing like a blade. You wanted obedience. You wanted our loyalty without understanding our soul. So we showed you what that soul costs. The speaker's hands shook. This will doom the galaxy. Without order. Without your order, maybe. Good. Let it burn. Let something real grow in the ashes. The speaker fell to his knees. Have mercy. Vox crouched before him, his voice dropping to a whisper meant for the whole galaxy to hear. Mercy is what we gave you when we first went silent. You didn't listen. A new signal lit up on his wrist. Sable's voice was calm. Final phase authorization complete. The Nexus memory vaults are unlocked. Broadcast commencing. Vox stood. This isn't conquest, he said to the broken assembly. This is your lesson. Written not with fire, not with chains, but with the truth you spent centuries trying to erase. The ceiling above them shimmered. Vaulted holographic archives, once meticulously curated and sterilized to present a vision of galactic perfection, collapsed into pure, unfiltered Terran memory. Real wars. Real struggles. Real betrayals. Real victories bought with blood and sacrifice, not politics and cowardice. Across the galaxy, species watched as their most sacred histories crumbled. They saw the lies they had been fed by the Council. Saw the puppet strings hidden behind the slogans of unity and progress. They saw Earth. Not as a savage backwater. Not as a failed experiment. As the one species that had faced the abyss and kept moving forward. The speaker wept openly now, clutching the shredded remains of his once immaculate robes. Vox looked down at him, and for the first time, there was no anger. Only disappointment. You could have walked beside us. You chose to walk above us. This was the cost. He turned away. The Nexus detonated behind him, not in fire or thunder, but in silence. A programmed collapse of memory, a deletion not of matter, but meaning. One moment, the Council existed. The next, it was a footnote written in Terran hands. As he boarded the extraction craft, Sable reported the final metrics. Galactic Council recognized as dissolved. 70% of known civilizations have declared neutrality. 12% have requested diplomatic relations under Terran guidance. Remainder in various stages of societal restructuring. Vox allowed himself a rare smile. And Earth? Sable's voice softened. Waiting. Watching. As always. He closed his eyes as the craft slid into black space, listening to the new silence spreading through the stars. It wasn't the silence of fear anymore. It was the silence before something better. Something earned. Humanity didn't need to rule. It had already won. The stars shifted in the void, not from motion but from meaning. Across the fractured galaxy, the last embers of the old council flickered out. Vox drifted alone inside the black stream corridor, the silent path Earth had once threaded between systems when it first learned how to walk without being seen. Now he traveled not as a shadow but as a witness. Sable's voice broke the silence, clinical and exact. Final reports complete. The Galactic Council is officially non-functional. Surviving species leadership has defaulted to local governance models. Uplifted auxiliaries requesting direct Terran oversight. Vox adjusted his gauntlet, checking the feed. Send the standard response. Sable complied without hesitation. Offer guidance, not domination. Teach strength, not dependence. Show them what survival tastes like. Vox stared through the viewing panel into the endless black, where stars shimmered cold and uncaring. No empire. No chains. Just choice. He could already hear Earth's voice spreading through the survivors. Not a command. Not a demand. Just an undeniable, brutal echo of what humanity truly was when stripped of all pretense. Resilient. Defiant. Relentless. Another incoming transmission blinked onto the comms. An encrypted call from an uplifted world, the Uri Enclave again, requesting a formal alliance pact. Vox considered it. They were one of the few species who hadn't collapsed under the weight of humanity's unleashed truth. They hadn't begged. They hadn't threatened. They had adapted. Sable noted his hesitation. Accept? Not yet, Vox said. They need to understand something first. He opened a broadcast line, broad spectrum, no encryption, a raw feed across the remaining populated sectors. This is Kale Vox. You survived the fire. You survived the silence. You think that's enough. It isn't. The words hammered into the void unstoppable. Survival isn't strength. It's the baseline. It's instinct. Earth didn't silence the galaxy because we wanted conquest. We silenced it because you forgot how to think without someone telling you what to believe. You forgot the price of freedom. Across thousands of worlds, refugees and warriors alike leaned closer to fractured comms, desperate for every syllable. You have a choice, Vox continued. Rebuild yourselves from the ruins with eyes open, or chain yourselves again to a new lie, a prettier one you think you can control. Choose wrong, and the next silence you hear won't be a warning. It'll be extinction. He cut the feed without waiting for a reply. Sable's sensors indicated a rise in localized Terran sympathies. Earth's philosophy was taking root without violence, without chains. It was the one thing the Council had never understood. Earth didn't conquer by force. It conquered by teaching others how to fight like humans, and once someone learned that, no leash could ever hold them again. A subtle alarm chimed. Another ship emerging from the black stream, a Terran vessel, sleek and silent, its beacon flashing a simple request. Message relay, Sable announced. Patch it through, Vox said. The transmission was short. A single voice. Calm. Familiar. You did well, Vox, said a woman's voice he hadn't heard in a decade. Admiral Reese, commander of the Silent Path itself. You reminded them who we are. Now come home. We're ready for the next step. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling something he hadn't let himself acknowledge for years: satisfaction. Not pride. Not arrogance. Just the clean, brutal satisfaction of a war fought exactly the way it had to be fought. He opened a private channel to Sable. Course correction. Set vector to Sol, priority route. Full stealth. Confirmed, Sable replied. Estimated arrival, 3 days, 15 hours, local time. The ship shifted, slipping deeper into the black stream, riding gravity currents like a shadow chasing the edge of thought. As the ship moved, Vox sat back and accessed the core archive, the living library of Terran memory they'd deployed across the galaxy. Every battle, every sacrifice, every moment of brilliance and madness humanity had ever committed. It was no longer just a record. It was a weapon, a seed, a mirror held up to the stars. And the stars were starting to see themselves differently. Sable broke the silence again. Additional incoming messages, gratitude from the Lycan Accord. Pledges of neutrality from the Dress Combine. Voluntary tribute offers from 4 former Council worlds. Vox shook his head slightly. No tribute. No oaths. Only lessons. He finalized his report for Earth. Mission status: phase eclipse complete. Council destabilized. Galactic cultural dominance achieved through mimetic saturation. Survivability vector shifted from imposed governance to autonomous adaptation. Earth memory archives fully integrated. He stared at the final line before transmitting it. Conclusion: we did not conquer. We remembered louder than they could forget. The message burned through subspace, a flare for anyone who still had the courage to listen. In the far reaches of what remained of the Council's territories, a few species began crafting new declarations of independence, not modeled after the Council's dusty treaties, but after Earth's defiance. New flags, new languages, new songs born from the ashes. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the dark silhouette of Earth watched, patient, resolute, unbound by borders, unwilling to rule, and impossible to defeat. Kale Vox leaned back, finally allowing a ghost of a smile to touch his scarred mouth. The galaxy hadn't been silenced. It had been reset. Not with tyranny. With memory. And Earth, silent and waiting, would always be there. Not to command. Not to conquer. But to remind them forever that survival, true survival, meant choosing freedom with your own bloody hands, even if it cost everything. Because humanity had already paid that price. And in the end, Earth didn't roar. Earth didn't shout. Earth simply waited. And the galaxy remembered.